You're listening to the Align to Amplify podcast. Now, here are your hosts, Sarah and Haley.
Welcome to Align to Amplify. I am Sarah Sunshine Garrison. I'm an intuitive business healer, and I am here with
Haley Lewis, brand accelerator and executive creative advisor.
Wow, that's a mouthful.
I
like it.
know. I'm still getting used to it.
Adult. Very adult.
Baby all grows up.
And who do we have here with us today, Haley?
Our guest today is Erin Beggs. She is the founder and owner of, oh my gosh.
Social by Design.
Social by
and
Design.
The No Direction podcast.
Okay. Yes, No Direction podcast. Look it up. Like it. Watch it. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't read Erin's form. I didn't read...
It's all right. I feel very
I
very
sent
special.
it. I sent it to you, and then I didn't read it.
It's all right. I only did it about 2 hours ago. So
Okay.
I procrastinated. You procrastinated, which made me procrastinate, which...
Well, the thing is like I'm going to shame Sproul for a second because it was like, we need this to even start because we need to know how to introduce you. And then I sit there going, I don't know how to introduce you because I didn't read your form. So I'm sorry.
That's okay. I think we all have these ideas that we need to follow these procedures and to be an adult or to be official or professional or something. And then when we don't follow them, we feel silly. And it makes, I don't know.
There's a reason why we have process.
But I don't think there needs to be a process all the time.
Right.
You know, the organicness of it is kind of what makes it special and fun.
Yep.
I mean, I look at it, but I don't read through everything. I look at to see what's off limits.
Oh.
I had somebody, I'm not going to say who because I don't want to call this person out, but everyone said, like, we have a question on the form that says what's off limits, any topic off limits. Everyone's like, nothing, no, I'm okay, blah, blah, blah. One person put in theirs that their off limits topic was midget wrestling.
Wow, I feel like I know who that is. But yeah, okay, all right.
I think that's just off limits and
I think so, too.
as a full-on general
yeah.
thing.
There's a thing. I think they were in Portland recently. Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
that's why that person
oops.
brought it
Yeah,
up.
no, I totally know who you're talking about. It's fine. It's fine. And yes, you shouldn't. Well, it's a thing. It's not like it's taboo, or well, I guess it's kind of taboo, and you know.
Well,
It should be celebrated. If it's a thing
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that you pay money to go see
It's
or
a thing
whatever,
that
then
you
it's a
pay money to
thing.
go see, and they're professional athletes.
yeah.
And it's not about being silly. It's about being, professional in
In a certain category.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's
Yeah.
a certain category for everything, I think, now.
Now, I did ask this person before we went on, I'm like, okay, tell me about this. And they're like, I just wanted to get a reaction out of you. I was like, oh.
That's fantastic.
Triggered.
Yeah.
Yeah. So really nothing was off limits.
Yeah.
They were just
Yeah.
saying, let me see what happens if I fill in the thing like this.
Yes.
Well, you asked me to tell you my my bio.
Mm-hmm.
And I always feel like I'm put on the spot when you ask me about my bio. I don't do a very good job of selling myself. I do a really good job of selling everybody else. Yesterday, I was at a golf tournament all day long, guilt-tripping golfers into spending more money because, it's for the kids, it's for charity.
Yep.
So spend all the money. I don't care how your game is. I don't care how you golf, but give me your money and then go have fun on the course. But I have a really hard time selling myself. So I had ChatGPT write it for me. And so I said, okay, I need to write a bio. Ask me some questions. Let me fill those out. And it actually did a pretty decent job. So I'm sad that you didn't read it because I put a lot of time in it.
It was actually pretty good.
My prompts to AI were perfect.
Yes, they were.
Chat GPT and I are besties.
Me too.
Yeah.
I use it on the daily when I'm taking my dog out. My dog takes forever to go to the bathroom. She's afraid of everything. Literally everything. One little noise, if a leaf goes by when she's about ready to go to the bathroom, she has to start all over again.
The whole
It's
like ritual
a
thing.
45-minute process. It takes we don't have a backyard, so we have to take her out on the leash, and it's a process. So I'm out there talking to ChatGPT, giving me ideas for social media prompts and subjects for my podcast and things that I can, ask guests and all kinds of things. So yes, I love ChatGPT. I embrace it. It's not going to take over for the creator. It's just going to make, I think, everything just a little bit more better. More better.
More better. I like that. I like
It's gonna
that
make it more
statement.
better.
It's more better.
Yeah, it's
I just
better.
like the streamline aspect of it, where it's like it can free up my mind to do like real creation, and then the busy work, I just let AI do it.
Yes, absolutely.
I hate creating like written content. Like I'm not a writer, and Chat GPT, given the right prompting, like you can't just like tell it to do things because it like everything is what is it, transitional, and they use all these transformational and exquisite.
Get ready, folks.
Yeah.
It likes the word folks.
Oh,
Stop. Get ready, folks. I have a giant announcement. Let me put all the emojis around the thing that we're announcing. Yeah.
Emojis. It loves the emojis.
Yes, it does.
Really? Okay,
Oh,
I
yes.
haven't gone down that
Yeah.
route
Don't
with
even
it.
ask it.
Ask it to write a social post for you, and you will see all the emojis. Yes.
I did.
It's a dead giveaway that
Okay.
somebody has used
Yes.
that somebody has used ChatGPT.
With all the emojis on it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I had it right. I haven't used the posts, but I think it had it right for my website, some posts for some blogs that I did. And I don't remember it having emojis, but did I read it? Did I look at it? No, I just copied and pasted it into a Word document. And I'm like, okay, this is going to happen at some point, and I'm just kind of putting it in the strategy, but it's like I haven't even read it yet.
You have to read it. So I connected with Maggie May's bookstore because I also have a travel agency that I own, and I do Disney travel.
Oh,
And,
fun.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love
Your
it.
shirt is very
Oh,
appropriate.
yes, it is. Thank you. And we did Disney trivia night. And I waited to the last minute to do anything with it because I was working 2 jobs on the side. And I had a 9 to 5, and I was like, "Oh crap! I have this thing I have to do, and people paid to be here. I have to put this together." So I asked ChatGPT to create the questions for me, and I did 3 different categories. It created the questions for me. I'm like, sweet, and it did the answers. I didn't read any of them. I got into the room and I start reading them ahead so I said the first question. As they're answering, I'm reading ahead. I'm thinking, that's not the right answer. There was at least 3 or 4 of them, and it had the answer wrong.
Oh,
and so
no.
I'm on Google really quick, like I got to double check this to make sure it's not, to make sure it's the right answer in this, trivia game that we've put on. So moral of the story is always read it and make sure, because you're the expert.
Right.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And
Right.
It's information. is
I
quite often flawed.
promise I will read it before I post them. But I'm a designer, and I've always told, and my husband's a writer, and I've always told him, I'm like, I don't read.
That's for you to do. You're
no,
the
I don't.
copywriter.
I don't
Yeah.
read. I design and I make it look really pretty, but don't expect me to read it because I don't have time. It's a different brain function for me, and if
is.
I'm really locked in the visual aspect of it, it's like it could be full of typos and I wouldn't even know because I'd never looked at it. Like I look at it as a block of
Yeah.
content.
More like data.
I look at it as a shape.
Necessary evil, or
It's a shape.
Oh, okay.
It's an actual visual shape in the layout. So, like the length of it, the size of it, the width of it.
Sure.
And then like for titles, of course, I'm going to read it because we do typography and you do the kerning and all that kind of stuff. But no, body copy. Yeah, there it is.
That's a designer thing, though, because I've met multiple designers that if you don't give them the right copy, whatever you give them goes into the design. Like I have seen flyers go out that don't have the right date and time. I have seen, things getting posted on websites and on social media that their designer created, but nobody actually looked at the text. And so, like, that happened to me. I had a designer create something for me. And
Was it me?
No.
Okay.
No, she totally.
Why not? Just kidding.
A friend of
She wouldn't
mine.
have been writing it anyways. It would have been her husband. So.
A friend of mine wanted to do something nice, so I'm like, okay, sure, and got it back. And I'm like, I didn't even notice it. Like, I didn't even notice it. It wasn't until I posted on social media that someone's like, Sarah, did you see that this says this? And I was like,
Oh,
darn it.
So
and that's why
in
they
the-
always send it back to you, right?
Yeah.
Send it back. Yeah.
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 It's like I think the good old days when things were printed, it was a lot harder to change those things. And now, I mean, in the digital world, you can just, it's changed. Like,
Yep.
just ignore that first one. Whoops.
Except you have, I love the people who always like to point out your flaws, and so it's nice when you have two dates mixed up and they say, oh my gosh, did you mean to do the thing? And, of course you know, you meant to have both of the dates the same, not one saying one date and one saying the other date. But when you put something out there that's creative, or even just putting yourself out there, they like to point out the flaws. It's very rare that somebody comes up to you and says, that was flawless. It was awesome. I loved seeing the thing or even typing it. But as soon as you have one flaw in there, everybody types in, and they all have to comment, and the keyboard warriors come out and they say all of the negative things. And I think that's really, I don't know. It's really hard to put yourself out there. When people just want to.
Well, maybe
point
use
out
that
the
as
negative.
Maybe use that as a strategy, because every time somebody says something negative on any of your posts, it makes your post go viral.
Absolutely.
And so use it as a strategy. Like, miss a period, spelled too wrong.
Did I miss that? Oops.
There. Spell it wrong. Let's see what happens.
So from a social strategy, then, I mean, okay, I was telling Sarah today, I came in and I put my bag down. I go, welp, we have our first hater.
Oh, I love haters.
They're like the best.
Yes. So when I'm saying that people are pointing out your flaws, they really do increase the value of your content. But
So here's my question from a moderator point of view, or like, because it's our content. My first instinct was ignore, like, bing, you're gone. Like, just ignore.
Ignore or delete or whatever.
Right.
Sure.
My husband wanted to delete it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I told her, I was like, you should do a little clapping emoji to him.
Okay. Yeah, I think it depends on what the negativity is. Do you engage?
Right.
Is it something where they're completely tearing you down? So on my podcast, I'm all about being real, right? And so there's going to be some things that I'm going to say that people aren't going to like, or they're going to say, "Oh, I didn't know that was who you are," because we always put on this persona in front of everybody. And so I almost want to welcome those haters in so that I can slap back. But it depends on the time and the place and what they're picking on,
Yeah.
And so do you just delete it? Do you let other people come to your rescue, and say, "Oh, I've known her forever," and da-da-da, and, and do all the things and talk back to them for you? And it is so time and place oriented and then sometimes you just ignore it and then just kind of goes away because they hate their lives, and the only reason for living for them is to come out and be mean to people because they enjoy it and they get off on it.
I think I have a pretty tough skin just being in the creative business, and your work is up for review all the time.
Yes.
And you get feedback, and sometimes it's negative. And so over the years, I just listen to it and I'm like, I might change, but if it's something I'll go to the mat for, I will. Like, no, it's this way because I was thinking this. Now, ultimately, if you don't agree, then we'll readdress it. But over the years, I think I've developed. I'm not callous, but I'm expecting it.
Oh, sure.
I'm expecting an influx of both positive and negative feedback. Yeah. So,
which also isn't healthy, right? Is to expect these people that'll come at you with negative feedback. It feels kind of.
So I learned something. I went on a 2-month road trip, and I slept in my car. Like, we converted the back of my 4Runner into a bed and everything. So I camped along the way versus getting hotel rooms. And every night I would do a reel on here's my campsite. I wouldn't post it the same day. It was usually like a day or two after, just for safety. Safe. I was by myself, so but I would post these videos, and so I learned. So one of the things that I've always been afraid of is to really just share genuinely 100% who I am on to the world, because it triggers people, and I'm really not interested in getting into arguments with people. But what I learned is anything can trigger anyone. Because I was doing a video one day. I did a video of my campsite one day. And I'm like, here it is. And this is where we would put a tent if we were sleeping in. But we're not going to sleep there. And it was right along the road, like the camp road, you know, like when you go to campgrounds. And I got so much hate on that post about that's not real camping, that's glamping, like all of this stuff. And at first I was like, well, you guys don't, you know, I was like explaining because I thought people didn't understand. And then I realized that I just triggered people. I was just triggering them. And with every response that I gave, more responses flooded in. And I had that post go viral. And I'm like, okay, if I can trigger people over camping, I'm done hiding behind any smoke screen. Y'all are going to get triggered over camping.
Yeah, absolutely.
So get triggered over my views on politics, COVID, spirituality, any other crazy thing, fine. I'll let you get triggered because if you're triggered over camping, I'm done.
Yeah. and I think that's the basis. I know that's the basis of my podcast. I spent a lot of time needing people to like me and playing a game and not arguing with people and not putting myself out there and saying how I feel. And I've gotten a lot of encouragement from people lately who have said, what do you care about what people think that don't know you? And if people discover the real you and they don't like you, were they really your people? And that hits real hard. And I mean, I've been married for 22 years. My youngest is 16. My parents are still together. I have a very, very loving family. My husband's parents are still together. Not meaning that if you get divorced, you're not a loving family. That's not what I mean. But just to kind of give you an idea of my background. And for whatever reason, I've always been in this mind frame of I need to do X, Y, and Z so people like me. And I'm tired of it. And it's not that I have extreme views one way or the other. Politically, I'm very purple. I am a very purple person politically. I can see both sides.
Yep, me too.
And as far as religion goes, whatever makes you happy, you know. And so I'm a very neutral person. I don't have very strong opinions in most things. And I'm tired of hiding behind this persona that I think people need to like me. And that's the basis of my podcast. It's just basically it's coming out. Erin's coming out. This is my coming out party. This is who I really am. And I love I can't remember I can't remember what I think it's the Today Show or something. Whoever started doing the celebrity mean tweets. And then celebrities read their own mean tweets.
That's like
I cannot wait until I get mean tweets. Like, I'm excited to get these mean comments so that I can read them out loud on my podcast because thank you. You're going to make me go viral. I appreciate your time and thank you for coming to me. So this person that was mean and probably just mad at themselves and mad with their own situation in life, I'm very curious to see what you're going to end up doing with that.
Yeah, I still don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm kind of like, you just told the algorithm that you like me.
Yeah. Do anything except for a thumbs up, please. Skip the thumbs up. Love me, wow me, angry face me, whatever. But yeah, let everybody else know that, whatever I'm doing is working.
I mean, I might go in and do a clapping emoji.
You might as well. And now I'm super curious what they said. Are you willing to share? What said?
It was.
So first of all, it was the one where she was clapping and she's like, "Oh, and my own applause," because you know how we do the clap.
Okay.
So,
This was just a little funny
just
thing.
kind of making fun of yourself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and she, I don't know who it was, but this person basically said something about "you're so annoying, get off of my feed, like unfollow me."
Unfollow me.
Yeah, something like that. It was. I can't remember exactly what it was,
Clearly don't understand
but
how
it was
the
like,
world works.
how did my reel get on your feed? And now you're going to get more.
Yeah,
because you just engaged.
Oh, and now I'm just gonna pay to have my reel just go to your feed. Like, I'm going to invest all my money to shove my reel into your feed, and it's going to be amazing.
Sponsored.
And I cannot wait for all of your mean tweets to come back at me.
And here, this person who just wanted us to go away. Now there's a podcast with this person being discussed.
Now they've become famous.
There you
They're
go.
famous.
They've made themselves famous. I
You're
like
welcome.
it. Yeah, exactly. Wow.
Oh my gosh. So, tell us a little bit about your podcast and like what was that seed that started the whole thing for you? Because I would love to know a little more about it, because I haven't listened in, and I don't know.
There's nothing to listen to yet.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would say for about 3 years I've been talking about starting a podcast, and I wasn't sure what topic matter I wanted to do, and I knew I wanted a co-host, and so it got, So with my podcast, I finally came up with a direction, and the direction is no direction. And what I mean by that is there's no niche. There's no topic matter that I'm going to specifically talk about. It's not a business podcast. It's not a conspiracy theory podcast or a true crime podcast. It's just it is all of those things, and it's talking about these things. Yeah, it's gonna be a blast. I'm gonna have. I'm working right now on getting a Bigfoot expert on the podcast.
Nice.
We'll talk a little bit about that. I just recently found out that a friend of mine discovered that she has a talent to talk to dead people. And I'm super intrigued to see what that's all about. And I have all of the questions. And so it's a little bit conspiracy. Oh, you can too?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe I have both of you on. But it's super intriguing to me. And I think that's where I'm going with this podcast. I recently had to pivot. And so I don't have anything recorded yet. I do have a few things recorded, but circumstances are beyond my control, and so I have to re-record some things.
We understand that.
Yes.
Trust
Oh,
me.
yeah.
We
Ours was a
totally-
tech fail, but we get
Yes.
it.
Yeah, we had some tech fails going on. So re-recording, I'm not entirely sure when the podcast is going to launch, but if you follow me on Instagram and on Facebook at The Real No Direction Podcast, I will send all that information out once I launch my first one. But it's about me getting real and talking about the things that interest me. And one of the big encouragement pieces is the people around me who have said, just do the thing. Why do you keep putting your heels in the ground? I think it's because I'm a procrastinator. I have this big need for people to like me, and so it's really nerve-wracking to put myself out there. And then I listened to a podcast called My Favorite Murder. And the My Favorite Murder podcast, the two hosts on there are fantastic, and they talk about being real. They talk about their lives, and they give two shits about what people think. They're just happy being themselves and talking about what makes them happy, and it's true crime and it's murder, and then they're funny, and so that's really what my podcast is about. It's about nothing and everything and just being real. Yeah.
And no boundaries, no
Right. Yeah, there's
no
nothing,
silencing.
Right. Yes, and there's nothing really off the table, and I just want to be real and talk to people and see what's going on in the world and get different perspectives. I'm of the school of thought that I can have a very different opinion from you, but we can still be really great friends, because just because you think one way politically or you practice a certain religion doesn't mean that we can't just come together and be friends, even if we don't agree on things.
I think we have some synergy going on. Honestly, I've been playing with the sound because I could hear myself breathing.
You're just very excited that I'm on here. That's really what it is.
Oh my gosh.
This is how our podcast goes, just so you know. Sarah says something really random and gets sidetracked. But what I was going to say is that I feel like there's some real synergy, because that's the reason why we started ours, is we felt like it was just, we were having some really interesting conversations in coffee shops, and everybody that was sitting around us, you could see them like turning their head and like trying to figure out what we were saying. And pretty soon we've got a crowd in the conversation. And so we just thought, let's just make these public. Let's just put them out there for everyone to hear. And it was scary, just like you. Like, there's a fear factor, but I feel like there's some synergy. So, you might need to be on our podcast more often.
That would be fantastic. Yeah, and at the end of the day, I want people to walk away after listening to the podcast, whether they're doing laundry or they had a bad day and they just need a break from reality, and come away from the podcast and go, I could be friends with her,
Yeah.
I could have coffee. I could have a conversation.
Right.
And it's interesting how you're talking about, different points of view, different political leanings, different religious practice, or whatever. And it's okay to be different and to still like each other. I mean, I live in a household we're a divided household. We raised very strong-willed, minded children, and and even my husband and I, we don't agree 100% on everything. And so, but it's like I look at this little micro community that I have in my home, and I'm like, we still love each other, like really fiercely, and yet we don't 100% agree, and it's okay.
Absolutely. I think we're in an age right now where people think that if you don't agree with me, we can't be friends or we can't communicate correctly. And I have so many friends that I disagree with so many of the things that they do, but we still come together and have coffee or go have a beer or whatever, and we're great friends. And we can have conversations. Yeah. And I don't have to agree. And they don't have to agree with me. And it's really great to just sit and listen and gain some perspective, Sometimes it could be very educational to hear about why they think a certain way. Tell me about this thing, because I only know what I know, and I only see what I see. So if you educate me and help me understand, then I have a broader view of the world, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
I think that makes it better all the way around. And you're talking about perspective, especially when people are really passionate about their point of view, it makes me more curious about their lens. Like, how are you looking at it that way? Like, tell me. I really want to know.
Right.
Because not that you're probably going to change my opinion, but I just want to know how you came to yours. Because then it's like, okay, I can respect that.
Yeah. Yeah, I was telling you earlier that I was at a golf tournament yesterday, and I spent the entire day in a golf cart with somebody who is the exact opposite of me as far as politics go. And we sat and we laughed all day long. We talked about a few things that were political. I'm like, tell me about the thing. And we both got to tell each other, and it was interesting because we came out of those conversations saying, okay, yeah, I could see that. And that it was really great because we weren't arguing with each other. We were just explaining our point of view. And it's really interesting when you say, tell me more, let me learn.
Yeah.
Rather than, oh, no, you're wrong and this is why. I feel like we are in a world that we need to listen more and stop interjecting our opinions on everything.
I agree.
Absolutely. And it's kind of like, and if you don't agree with me, then I'm going to shun you.
Right.
The whole shunning and silencing. And so that's, so I love what you're doing with your podcast. It's like, just get it out there and being able to speak freely.
Right.
I mean, we have that right.
Right.
And it's kind of like, as individuals, we need to start taking that back.
I agree.
And saying, you know what, it's okay to say these things. And it's like, are you the thought police?
Right.
We're not in 1984, guys.
No.
No. Or the 1800s or, wherever else. It's like.
And especially as women.
Get forward.
I think women are the ones that are going to, I don't know. I feel like we're experiencing some transformational change where we're like, we've bit our lip for a really long time.
Yes. Yes. We've learned how to be a chameleon.
Yep. The people
And we're
pleaser,
tired.
what you were talking about.
Yeah.
And it's
I'm
like,
tired of being a chameleon to you. I'm tired
Yeah.
of changing every time the environment changes. Yeah.
it's like, I want you to know who I am. And I'm really hoping you're going to be okay with that.
Yep.
And I've learned a lot of that from my daughter. So my 16-year-old is very, if she doesn't go and be a CEO or high-level executive somewhere, her skills are going to be just completely lost. She is amazing at saying how she feels, but in a way that it's not going to hurt somebody. And she also has a way of just, this is who I am. I don't, your opinion, okay, great. Your opinion is your opinion. But I'm going to do this because makes me feel good. And if you don't like it, sorry, I'm not hurting anybody. This is just who I am.
I feel like that's a Gen Z thing right now. Honestly, like my son's the same exact way.
Is he?
I think
Yeah.
our kids are kind of
Yeah.
amazing. And I think they have to be,
Yeah.
Yeah.
given the environment that they've grown up in and the level of technology that they've had around them.
Well, and the level of chaos they've had around.
Yes.
I mean, there's a lot that's been going on in the past 15 years.
Even in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
So navigating that and watching them develop into these amazing human beings is
We can learn a lot.
pretty satisfying as a mom. Definitely.
Yes, it really is. Yeah, this generation is, every generation has their thing, right? And every generation before it wants to say whatever your thing is, is dumb, and let me shake my finger at you, and why are you listening to that music, and why do you do the thing, and why do you dress the way?
I
And
walked
it's like-
uphill both ways to school.
Right. And if you look at the generation, what was it for us, and then what was it for our parents? I mean, for my mom, like the thing that kind of got people all riled up was like Jimi Hendrix and Jim Morrison. And we look at that and we're thinking that was tame compared to what my generation was all about, with the Eminem and rap being really big. And then going now into my daughter's generation, they just say whatever they want in songs now. And I listen to those things and I'm like, don't judge, don't judge, don't judge. But I'm like, but I don't like it. But, but every generation has their thing, and every generation before them judges them for it severely.
Yep.
And every generation says that next generation is lazy.
And it's the end of civilization as we know
Every
it.
generation's the lazy generation.
I don't know. I feel like us Gen Xers have got that beat. We were the lazy generation. I don't know. That's the way I was always raised. Is your generation's so lazy. That's what we're the slacker generation.
I felt like I saw this meme that said the Gen Xers are the ones that were 30 at 10 and they're still 30 at 50.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes
And
sense.
I'm like, I can totally relate
Yeah.
to that because we did have to grow. I feel like we had to grow up fast.
I do too, but at the same time, I feel like we were also the slacker generation. Like we just didn't want to do the things like our parents. Like I don't know how. About
I think
you
you're a
guys.
really young Gen X,
Yeah.
and I'm a really old Gen X. So
Well, and see, I don't. What is the one that's right before Gen X? I always get the generations mixed up.
Boomers.
No, it was boomers and then something and then something. Wasn't there one?
Boomers,
Boomers,
Gen X, millennials.
Okay, so yes.
Yeah.
I always get them mixed up.
Yeah.
I apologize. Don't write hate mail in.
Oh,
So-
don't no! Write the hate mail. We like the hate mail. Go
Well,
for
read
it.
it out
Argue
loud.
with
I
us.
seriously
so I'm
think-
an X. But
Yes.
I'm an X.
I'm a younger X, and sometimes I can be confused as a millennial.
Yep.
And I don't identify as a millennial. Don't put me in that category. Because millennials are a special type of person, and that's not me.
Yeah.
And I think every generational designation has their really cool things about them, and every generation before them says, you guys are super lazy. Like, why aren't you getting a job? Why after COVID is nobody working? Well, it's kind of like we decided that we didn't want anybody to tell us what to do anymore, and so we started doing our own thing. And
Yeah.
then now when we do apply for things and we're super qualified for it, you're not willing to pay me the money for it. So I
Why
go
would I do that?
somewhere else. Why would
Yep.
why would I go work for you for $24 an hour? I can't live on $24 an hour. Something happens to my husband, I'd be on the street.
Yep.
24, that's nothing. You could barely afford rent at $24 an hour. No, thank you.
I feel bad for our kids. Like, honestly, looking at my son, he's going to be 20 soon, and he doesn't have the same, I don't know, benefits, the same leg up that I feel like I had a leg up compared to him because things didn't cost as much.
Sure.
I mean, minimum wage back then, I think $4.75, I think, maybe. But I think that was a high end. It was probably lower, $4.25 when I started working. And you could afford rent.
Yeah.
You could afford rent at that hourly wage. My son is making, $19-20 an hour, and he still lives with us because he can't afford his own rent.
Right.
No,
So-
no, that's a very, very common thing. We had this conversation last night with our son, and I was like, yeah, we spent, I don't know, in the 70s for our first house.
Right.
And he's like, 70,000? I'm like, yeah, it wasn't much more than that, but yeah. And he just was like, are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah, well, I saw this interesting graphic the other day, and it said, a family of 4 in, I'm going to get the date wrong, but something like the 1960s, on average made like, I don't know, $11,000 a year. No, it was like $4,500. No, it's $4,500 a year, and an average house was $11,000. Okay. Fast forward to today, and the average family makes about $70,000, and the average house is about $480,000. That's a huge gap.
It is.
That's a big difference. And as much as our generation wants to look at the current generation and say, you guys are lazy, why don't you have, I had a house by now, and I had a family by now, and da-da-da. They can't afford any of that, and they're scared as hell. I mean, my son, he's got a really great job with a really great company, and he gets paid more than minimum wage, but it takes him and his girlfriend working full time to squeak by to pay their rent.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's tough, and it's not right.
Right.
It really
It's
is
crazy.
not right.
And I don't think it's an employer problem. It's a much bigger problem because employers can't necessarily afford to pay much more than that, and everything has inflated, and the cost of groceries and houses and cars and everything. It's exhausting.
It makes it really tough.
Yeah.
And I know as a parent, you're like, how do you even advise on that point? Because that's
Yeah.
something that we didn't have to deal with in the very beginning.
Yeah. And I try to tell him, I say, try to invest some money every month. And he looks at me and goes, what money?
Yeah.
I don't have any extra money. Like his idea of fun is him and his buddies going out and getting those Lime scooters and riding them around downtown Portland and just goofing off. Well, those things are super cheap, My idea of fun at his age was doing things that cost a lot more money than that, But I could afford it at his age, and he can't, And so they have to be a little bit more creative with their money and the time that they're, their recreational activities and things. And yeah, it's crazy.
Well,
I got
what?
real heavy.
I
real
know.
fast.
We
It
got
was
really
like-
deep.
Well, it's because we're mamas, and
Yeah.
we're
We
sitting
are.
here and we don't
Yeah.
know how, we
all
can't
have-
solve this problem for our children.
Yeah.
But we have to witness it. We watch it. We're on the sidelines, and you're like cheering for them, but you're like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do, and I can't fix it.
And they're not lazy. They're working hard.
Oh my gosh, they're
No.
working their butts off. Yeah, definitely.
No,
So,
I think,
yeah.
we can be really proud
Yeah.
of the kids that we're raising or that we've raised. I mean, because they're in their 20s now, so it's like, yeah. But
exactly. Yeah.
They're still babies.
they'll always be.
I feel like the three of us could talk forever, but I'm feeling like we need to start wrapping this up because
Well, we can definitely.
we could
Erin,
go
let's
for
have
the
you
next
back.
hour.
Oh, sure. I love
Because
it.
I mean, you are a wealth of information as far as doing, especially on the social thing, and as social is becoming a real, from a marketing point of view, a real channel of communication and how to get the message out. I would like to delve into a little more of that kind of business strategy for it and give those like kind of insider tips on, do you know that if you did this one thing,
Yeah.
it could
absolutely.
change the direction of your social interactions. So I would love to talk about that. And I know we could talk. And okay, so here's the other thing you didn't put on your form was your travel.
Yes.
I would
yes.
love to talk to you about travel because,
I do all the things.
Yeah.
you do all the things. And I think it could be really, really interesting.
Yeah, and I'd love to have you back just to shoot the shit.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic.
Hopefully I didn't just get bleeped out on some of those.
So tell everybody how they can find you.
Okay, so you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at the Real No Direction Podcast or at Social by Design US, and follow me on either one of those businesses or social channels, and I'd love to talk to you more and reach out and do all the things and follow me for some shenanigans on my podcast. I truly have zero direction, and I have no idea what I'm doing, but I just want to hear myself speak. So come join me on that.
Absolutely. And we
Awesome.
want to hear you speak too.
Thank you.
It's fun.
And all of that will be in the show notes too. So we'll make sure that everybody has your information.
Great.
Excellent.
I appreciate it.
All right. Well,
Okay.
let's sign off. Hey, thanks for joining us this time for this fantastic conversation. I would like to hear from anybody who has like millennial children or Gen Z children and how they're navigating this world, because that's the big question for me today.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Thank you so much. We'll see you
All right.
next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.